So, you're a professional support worker in Canada. You know that every single thing you do on the job matters. But do you really know the legal framework that's behind it all? In the next few minutes, we're going to break down the essential laws that protect both you and your clients. And look, this isn't just about avoiding trouble. It's about building trust and being a true professional.
Okay, let's dive right in. First, we'll start with the big picture, Canada's foundational laws. From there, we'll zoom right into your client's specific rights. Then we'll map out the legal red lines you just can't cross. After that, we'll tackle the modern challenge of digital privacy, and we'll wrap it all up by looking at you, the complete professional, with your own set of rights and responsibilities.
All right, first up, Canada's Rights Foundation. You ever wonder where all those workplace policies and rules actually come from? Well, they're not just made up in an office somewhere. Every single right your client has, and every rule you follow, is built on the solid bedrock of Canada's most fundamental laws. And it's so important to really get this. This isn't just some boring legal theory. Understanding this foundation is absolutely crucial because it gives you the why behind everything you do, every single day on the job. It all starts with the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is the highest law in the entire country. You can think of it as the ultimate rule book for fairness in Canada. It guarantees these core rights for everyone, and that includes you and your clients, covering everything from equality to freedom of speech. Now, this is where those huge ideas from the Charter get really specific and apply directly to your job. See, every province and territory has its own human rights code. And what that does is take those big principles and ban discrimination in places like housing, employment, and, this is the key for us, healthcare services. This is where the law meets your daily work. Okay, so let's see how these big national laws actually translate into the direct relationship between you and the person you're caring for. We're going to zoom in on their core rights, which really means we're talking about their protection and your professional focus. Think of this list as the very heart of your professional duty. Every single client is entitled to these 6 fundamental rights. From the right to be treated with dignity all the way to the right to have a say in their own care decisions, these are not suggestions. They're requirements that you have to uphold in every single interaction. No exceptions. So, how do you make these big ideas a reality? It's all about small, concrete, everyday actions. I mean, look at this. The right to privacy can be as simple as knocking on a door. Informed consent is just you clearly explaining what you're about to do and asking for permission. These are the daily habits that fulfill your legal and ethical responsibilities. Now, we have to talk about what happens when these rights and duties aren't upheld. We're moving into the really serious legal consequences. These are the danger zones every single support worker needs to understand to protect themselves and, of course, their clients. It is so important to get the difference here. Criminal law, that's for stuff considered a crime against all of society, things like abuse or theft, with penalties like jail time. Civil law, on the other hand, deals with disputes between people, like a lawsuit over an injury, where the penalty is usually money. Your actions could potentially fall into either of these categories. You know, when we think of legal trouble, we often think of doing something wrong. But negligence is usually about what you didn't do. It's when you fail to provide the proper standard of care, and that failure causes harm. The example here of the unlocked wheelchair is perfect. A simple, tiny oversight with potentially devastating consequences. Defamation is all about protecting a person's reputation. If you spread false information, and that's the key, it has to be false, that hurts someone's character, that's defamation. And you gotta remember the difference. If you say it out loud, it's called slander. If you write it down in a text, an email, or even in a client's chart, that's called libel. This one is so critical in any kind of hands-on care. Assault can be just the threat of unwanted touching. You don't even have to actually make contact. Battery is the physical act itself. Both are incredibly serious, and you know what? Both are avoided by one simple thing: getting informed consent. Okay, this is about restricting a client's ability to move around freely when you don't have a legal reason to do so. It could be something obvious, like locking a door, or it could be more subtle, like using restraints when they're not absolutely necessary and authorized. It's a direct violation of a person's fundamental rights. And here we are, full circle, right back to a client's core rights. Invasion of privacy happens when you either share confidential information with someone who has no business knowing it, or when you physically expose a client when you don't need to. It's a huge breach of trust.
All right, let's take those timeless principles of privacy and bring them into the world we live in today. Because, let's be real, confidentiality isn't just about whispered words or paper files anymore. Electronic privacy is, simply put, the modern version of your duty of confidentiality. It covers all that personal client info that's stored digitally, on computers, in emails, and especially in electronic health records. The technology has changed, but the responsibility hasn't, not one bit. So how do you protect it? Here are 4 golden rules. They are absolutely non-negotiable. 1, use strong private passwords and never, ever share them. 2, always log out when you're done. 3, only share client information with authorized colleagues on a need-to-know basis. And 4, never, and I mean never, discuss clients on social media, in a text, or even in the elevator. Okay, for our final section, let's bring all of this together. Because being a professional isn't just about protecting your clients, it's also about understanding your own rights and operating within a clear system of professional duties. You have to remember this. The law is a two-way street. Yes, you have a lot of duties, but you also have rights. You are entitled to fair wages, a safe place to work, and protection from harassment. The legal system is there to support you just as much as it is to guide you. So in the end, this is what it means to be a professional. It's about taking all of these legal ideas we've talked about and weaving them into your daily code of conduct. It's about protecting dignity, practicing within your scope, documenting everything accurately, and having the courage to speak up and report anything that feels unsafe or unethical. We've covered a ton of ground, from the Charter of Rights all the way to digital passwords. So the final question is really for you. Thinking about your own work, your daily routine, what is one thing you will start doing, stop doing, or consciously continue doing to put these principles into practice and be the absolute best professional you can be?